If you find yourself unfortunate enough to stare into the eyes of an Aboleth, beware. The creature looking back at you can remember a time before humans, elves, or dwarves, before dragons flew or gods cursed the Aboleth reigned supreme. But one day, eons ago, these new gods came and destroyed the Abolithic empires. But for aberrations such as these, they do not forget, and, like mercy and compassion, they cannot forgive. How's it going, everyone? This is Swirish here, and today I get to chat about one of my favourite creatures in all of fantasy, the Aboleth. On this topic, we'll be covering some lore, some of its capabilities, and some tips on how you may like to use it in your game. So I will start by saying, like the proverbial older sibling, these creatures look down on everything younger than them, and with their immortal asses and racial memories that stretch back to the beginnings of time, that is about 99% of all beings. Allow me to paraphrase a paragraph from the 2024 Monster Manual. Aboleths possess terrifying intellects and have alien mindsets, making them near impossible to read. They have perfect memories of their empires from the beginning of time. They bide that time waiting in the forgotten places, ruins of their said empires, or the shadow between places of existence. And while here, they collect magical artifacts, they collect knowledge, armies of enslaved creatures, all to prepare for their return to power. Now, before we get into it, let's take a quick look at their stat block. They're a large aberration, lawful evil, but seeing as Aboleths never stop growing and they are immortal, if you were to use an Aboleth as a BBEG in your campaign, or at least a mid-level BBEG, you could change that from large to huge, depending. It depends on how you view it. AC 17, initiative plus 7 or passive 17. Again, very good. Hit points is 150, slight increase from the 135 in the 5th edition. Swim speed is normal. Stats across the board are pretty good. Strength 21. Dex is only 9, but they are proficient with saving throws, so at least it's a +3. Con is 15. Intelligence is a genius level 18. Wisdom is 15, and charisma is also an 18. Their skills include history and perception. They have a +12 to history, but I mean, based on the topic, would they even have to roll? If you feel it's something they would know and they know a lot, I mean, I wouldn't roll. Senses include dark vision to 120 feet and passive perception 20. Languages is deep speech and telepathy 120 feet. CR 10, proficiency bonus is +4. They get slightly more XP if you fight them in their lair, which you should fight an Aboleth in its lair. Some of the traits include amphibious, eldritch restoration, which means basically if they're destroyed between 5 and 50 days, they come back with all their hit points, either in their native far realm or another location chosen by the DM, which means this is kind of a fun recurring villain. A lot of DMs worry that if they bring out their big bad evil guy, too early in the campaign, and next thing they get killed, it's like, oh, well, what am I going to do now? So an Aboleth absolutely come out earlier, maybe at a slower level or disadvantaged in some way, and they could kill it, and then it comes back and it's learned from its mistakes. and maybe it gets killed again, and then it comes back again, and they have to destroy it in their lair for good. This is now canon that they can come back. They have legendary resistance, 3 a day or 4 a day if they're in their lair. Really cool. I really like the buffs to lairs. They have a mucus cloud. Lovely. While underwater, the Aboleth is surrounded by mucus. Con saving throw DC 14. Each creature in a 5-foot emanation originating from the Aboleth, the end of the Aboleth's turn. Failure, the target is cursed. Until the curse ends, the target's skin becomes slimy. The target can breathe air and water, and it can't regain hit points until it is underwater. While the cursed creature is outside of water, it takes 1d12 acid damage at the end of every 10 minutes unless moisture is applied to its skin before those minutes have passed. Now, I love it. I think it adds to it. It means, if you can remember as a DM when you're spinning a lot of those plates, if you can remember to do it, I think it really, really adds to it. The mucus cloud, that every time you hit it, you feel like you're taking some damage on your fists, or it's splashing back, and it's hard. You feel some burning on your skin, and then, maybe nothing happens. Maybe they'd fail the saving throw and stuff. But I think it's really, really cool. I would even say it's hard to see the creature clearly. They have probing telepathy, so any creature that communicates telepathically with the Aboleth learns the creature's greatest desires. I am guilty of doing this as a PC once, and I loved it. I ended up being enslaved, like I guess the 5e version of Dominate Mind, and it was so much fun. We had so much fun at the table with, but again, that was the table, and that was just the way the dice rolled. Its actions: multi-attack is 2 tentacle attacks, and it's 4 tentacles total, and then it can use either consume memories or dominate mind if they're available. Tentacle is +9 to hit, reach 15 foot, which is really good. 2d6 +5 bludgeoning damage. If the target is larger, smaller, is grappled. DC 14 escape. Consume memories. Int saving throw DC 16. One creature within 30 feet that is charmed or grappled by the Aboleth. Failure, 3d6 psychic damage. Success, half damage. Failure or success. The Aboleth gains the target's memories if the target is a humanoid and is reduced to 0 hit points by this action. Fun. That could be so much fun. Just the possibilities of that, of someone you love getting killed, and then the Aboleth teasing you with all the memories by telepathically talking to you. The role play for that would be so much fun. Then Dominate Mind, you can do it twice a day. Wiz saving throw DC 16. One creature the Aboleth can see within 30 feet. Failure, the target is the charmed condition until the Aboleth dies or is in a different plane of existence from the target. While charmed, the target acts as an ally to the Aboleth and is under its control while within 60 feet of it. In addition, the Aboleth and the target can communicate telepathically with each other over any distances. The target repeats the save whenever it takes damage, as well as every 24 hours it spends at least 1 mile away from the Aboleth, ending the effect itself on a success. Then it has legendary actions. Lash, makes 1 tentacle attack, or psychic drain. One creature that's charmed or grappled, it can use consume memories on and regain 1d10 hit points, which again is fun because it can do this up to 4 times if it's in a lair. And so that means if you do 2 attacks and 2 psychic drains, that's 2d10 buffing yourself every time. And if you have other minions involved, again, we'll cover that later on in the tips and tricks portion. So they were some of the stats, and I actually think they're pretty good for a CR10 creature. Personally, I would make some changes to it depending on how I'm running it. If this was just a random encounter, not that I would ever recommend running an Aboleth as a random encounter, but that's my own personal preference, then by all means use what's there. It's good, it's fun, I think it would be a challenge. But I guess for me, Aboleths pass down memories. So they remember everything that every single one of their ancestors remember. Back to the very beginning. Before, as I said at the start of the video, before gods were around. Aboleths remember the gods. Aboleths remember mortals. Aboleths remember almost everything. Fun fact, the only thing that kind of, I won't say scares them, but maybe gives them some pause, are mind flayers. As mind flayers time travelled from the ending of the universe back in time. So from an Aboleth's point of view, they literally just showed up one day. And they have no idea where they came from, but suddenly mind flayers were around. So yes, while not scared, yeah, maybe a little curious, if such a creature can be called curious. But I digress. So basically, they share memories of all their ancestors. They are immortal, so they constantly grow as well. When they do die, they come back to life between 5 and 50 days. I mean, an Aboleth, a fight with an Aboleth should be one of the hardest fights your players ever face. I mean, they've a high wisdom, 15 wisdom, a genius level intellect. They should never be Aboleth should never be making the same mistake twice. They should be constantly learning. When your players if they entered a lair of an Aboleth, there should be a high chance of a PC death, or possibly even a TPK. An Aboleth's lair should be full of minions, of wards, of foul water. There should be a bunch of low level worker bees type. If the lair was in a coastal or underwater sea area, maybe you have some merfolk or Sahagwin acting as trolls and slaves. If you were in a sunken jungle temple, maybe there's a bunch of you on tea there. Or if you're Underdark, you have Drow and Kuatoa. But these should be all minions, really low level. I mean, for level 10 players, like a CR, acting from a CR 1/2 to CR 3, shouldn't give them any pause whatsoever. Even higher, really. But I guess you should be, to me, you want to I think use these things as either the party need to be able to sneak up around them, or if they do confront them, they should be able, use them to kind of almost niggle at the party, use up some of their resources, or if they can just go in and without using any real resources, just their basic stuff that they don't use up, and they take care of it, maybe someone escapes, or if they don't do a good enough job, someone escapes and therefore warns that the party is on the hunt for the Aboleth, or maybe they're going to take it and try to break the dominated mind, maybe get some more information. Again, your table, you know your party, you know your players. Next, I would give my Aboleth a bolt hole. And it's not so much that the Aboleth can escape from it. It was more like maybe a few years ago, a slave broke free from the mind control. Maybe the Aboleth was off dealing with another bunch of adventures, and so it wasn't clearly thinking. And in that time, the slave escaped through this back door, secret entrance, secret exit. And then some years have passed, and maybe your table, they're going to look for some answers. They're trying to find some information. They're on a quest, or whatever reason. If they start looking for, instead of just marching to the front door, if they actually look and plan, maybe they find the person. Maybe they can talk to them. Maybe the person can give them some information, a general location. Or if you want and don't want to role play a person, which I get, sometimes you have too many people in your head and it's hard to come up with someone new. Maybe they find a skeletal remains and a journal, weathered journal with some maddening scroll on it, giving a loose location description or some advice, perhaps. I guess if your players want to go in guns a-blazing through the front door, absolutely they can do that, but then they should be basically facing the full wrath. But if they do their due diligence and do some research and ask around and do some investigation and all that sort of stuff, kind of non-combat-y stuff, then absolutely we should be rewarding that. So maybe take away some of the traps, maybe take away a lot of the minions. This is a secret that maybe not all the minions know about. I mean, why should they? Sorry, I got a little distracted there. Went on a bit of a tangent. I guess, speaking of traps, I would use the natural terrain of their habitat. Some examples could be if they set off a trap while coming in through a cave, perhaps they all have to make dexterity saves, but no matter what, they take some bludgeoning damage, but the caves in behind them, blocking off their retreat, so the only way is through. Or if they're going through a jungle maybe the floor collapses, and while they end up skipping maybe a couple of levels of the jungle temple, they hasten the final encounter, but also alert any nearby creatures to their presence. So, double-edged sword. Or, well, no, just kind of depends on the party, I guess. For loot, Aboleths should have relics, according to the monster manual. So I would give them, depending on the type of encounter and how difficult you make it, I would give them a mix of rare and very rare relics. But don't be afraid to equip the Aboleth or the Aboleth's minions with the relics. While writing for this video, I, in my mind's eye, had a picture of an Aboleth patrolling through the water with a mace of terror in one of its tentacles. Almost like a British bobby police officer slapping the truncheon in its other hand, going, well, what do we have here? I don't know. It's silly and it's stupid and it's not really keeping with it, but at the same time, that's the vision I got in my head. I think use the magic items. It's been collecting magic items for years and decades, millennia, eons, who knows how long. It should have some amazing magical items. I mean, another thing, even this should be stuff that obviously your party will want to loot it afterwards, so there is that balance of, well, I don't want to give too much stuff to the party, like overpowered stuff, but at the same time, it should be things. This should be hard. They should be rewarded. This should be a For me personally, an Aboleth should be something that they don't go into lightly, and therefore the rewards should be justified. Now, for the main event itself, the fight with the Aboleth. If a group of 4 to 6 level 10 players surround an Aboleth, I mean, the fight's over in 1, maybe 2 rounds. So that should never happen, or at least it shouldn't happen until later on in the fight. I would surround the Aboleth with minions, of like cannon fodder, like really low level stuff, swarms of piranhas and sharks, and maybe some Sahagwin warriors who are, their only job basically is to go up and try to grapple different party members and hold them back and move them away, so that the Aboleth can, fight one-on-one with one of your party and, scare them basically. Like, and their other party members are frustrated. They're trying to get out. They need to use their actions to break free or to kill these annoyances. You could also have, I don't know, maybe some priests or clerics or mages or something buffering. Maybe some sea hags. I mean, look through the monster manual. There's so much stuff there, but you should have minions, and that should be. They spend their turn healing and buffing the Aboleth, so that one of your party will have to go and deal with this, because they're constantly getting healed up, and it's like, okay, we have to stop that person. If your area is maybe perhaps in the Underdark, so it's a cave and it's half on land, and the Aboleth is underwater, so maybe a couple of the party are underwater fighting it, but the rest are on the land doing distance. Make sure you have terrestrial minions who can harry them from there, maybe to try and push them into the water, or to basically get in their way so the party can't all have their own way. Again, if they have a flying party members, make sure you have something that can do ranged attacks against them. Also, as well, if you're deep undersea, if it's deep down on the seabed floor, I mean, do your party take cold damage? Do you need to make Constitution saving throws just to not start taking cold damage, or force damage, perhaps? Not that that's really a thing in D&D, but again, at every house, every table, we're all different. We all have our own rules. But these are things you need to think about. This fight should be extremely tough. This fight should take a long time. This fight should be something your players talk about for years to come. This is an Aboleth. This remembers almost everything from the beginning of time. You owe it to yourself and to your players to make this a serious encounter for them. And perhaps a PC dies. That happens. There's always a risk. Bad rolls, the dice gods, whatever the case may be. If they don't have a way of healing it, I don't want to just you to go out and murder your party members or your party. But if they don't have a way of fixing it, maybe you find a scroll of restoration or a ring of wish or something that only has one wish left. Some way of getting the party up. It's up to you. Or maybe the dice gods are really against your party that day, and it's a TPK. Well, the thing about the Aboleth is, it is always collecting as powerful slaves as it can. So maybe all your party come too, gear gone, in rags, in chains. Now they've a prison break to do. They get clear, go off, lick their wounds, and gain some experience. At the end, I get to come back and do it all again. And how fun is that? Thank you for listening if you've made it this far.